All right. Hello and welcome to the Get Out of Your Funk show. I'm Sharla Mandere, your host. And today I'm super excited because a friend of mine is a guest and he is an amazing person with a huge heart. And he's going to share a lot of wisdom with us today. This is Secretario, and he is a personal energy and potential coach, and he focuses on sleep. That's something I know as a mom I need more of. So Mag, tell us a little bit about you and how did you become a sleep coach?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you, Sharla, for, inviting me to be a part of this journey. I'm
I'm
really
so
excited.
excited. I'm so glad to have you here.
Yes. And I recall when we first met a few years back in San Diego.
Yeah.
And, um, and here we are. We come around crossing paths on the journey. It's wonderful. So I'm so happy. I'm
And at the
grateful.
time, weren't you living in England still, or had you moved here
Yes.
already?
We had just moved. Recently. We moved in 2016. We were
Okay.
in
Yeah.
London for 17 years. And, as part of my story, I'll share a tiny bit of it. I mean, I came to the US and that's how I discovered health coaching. And that's how we met.
Yeah.
And that's how we met a whole new path for both of us. So yeah, I suppose my journey, like many others, is about a challenge that we had in our own life. And it's a challenge that I didn't realize I was having, because I generally thought I was healthy, eating well and practicing Tai Chi, um, and I had stress like everyone else had. But I didn't realize that because I wasn't sleeping so well, that stress and even bullying was building up for such a long time. Then I broke. Um, so that's how I realized that sleep was such a powerful um, foundation to my health that I didn't know. So I'm focusing on that. And as we know many coaches, we have many coaches in common. Many focus on so many things that, there's a lot that we can help people with.
Right.
But even coaches, we forget about sleep. It's just not quite at the top of priorities for many people, unfortunately.
Well, or it feels like it's out of our control. Like I know
Yes,
for me as a mom, you've got a baby or a toddler and it's just when, they're not sleeping through the night, then they start sleeping through the night, then they start teething, then they're waking up and then they get sick and then, and it's like I would love to sleep.
yes. That's
But
so
sometimes
true.
it feels like it's out of our control as if you're a parent or maybe someone who works nights. Like I work with a lot of nurses who work the night shift, and then during the day, they still have to take
Yes,
their kids to school and pick their kids up from school, and they're kind of napping here and there in between. So, sometimes
yes,
we do forget about sleep. And then sometimes I feel like sometimes it just feels so out of control.
yes. I believe it's so true because, like many things, we think that we don't have much control, but I'm learning that the things that we can control, we could get better at, and we could help it. Um, so there it's lifestyle choices and habits and so forth that all comes into play. Being a mother, uh, um, I can appreciate more and more, because I'm an uncle, and it's the first time that I've actually been able to experience a small baby for many years. Because long story short, I didn't have any babies. My son, I got to know when he was 12 years old, and I raised him from then.
Mm.
So I didn't have any problems with sleep because of a baby. But babysitting, when we came to America, my niece and nephew were quite young. I see it more and more. I feel it through their parents who don't sleep. So
Yeah.
those things we cannot control, but there are some things that we can get better at and help ourselves. It's a, feels like a little bit more work to do, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we can choose what we want, right?
Totally. So what do you think the big challenges are? Like when we're sleep deprived,
Yes.
what happens?
Yes. All hell breaks loose. Because I mean, it's really like that. I mean, I'm just preparing this gift on happiness, and what we've learned in neuroscience course
Hmm.
that I was on was um, our brains and sleep are so connected to the limbic part of our brain. So it's the brain that we used to think is the primitive brain. And
Okay.
when we don't get enough sleep, the communication between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that is high executive, functions, right? Reasoning,
Hmm.
decision making, and that sort of thing. That acts as the brake. Your amygdala
Hmm.
goes, gets on fire, and our emotions are all over the place. It's like the accelerator, and the prefrontal cortex will say, "No, slow down, right? Do you really need to
Right.
be going off like this?" So it's this brake and accelerator thing. So when we don't sleep, we just push that thing into drive, and emotions go all over the place.
Hmm.
So that's immediate. um, and then we're not clear-headed. We cannot think and function clearly, right? People call it brain fog or whatever they
Mom
want.
brain, mom
Yes,
brain. We call
mom
it mom
brain.
brain.
Yeah, exactly. So we feel the effects immediately, even just one night.
Right.
And then longer term, it has some serious physiological effects. you know Everything is connected to sleep. um, every metabolic challenge or heart disease or diabetes, obesity, all these things have a component connected to sleep, which is amazing. And
Yeah.
sometimes we forget that, right? People
Yeah.
try to lose weight, for example, and they eat well and they exercise, but if they're not sleeping well, um, you know, they just can't help themselves because the body is telling them they need to eat carbos for
Right.
energy, for example.
And the
So
body's not restoring itself, right? So
exactly.
we're not, yeah.
We're not resting and restoring, because
Hmm.
when you're working out, your muscles need to um, repair itself. And that only happens at certain levels of deep sleep.
Right.
So it's important,
Yeah.
not just the quantity, but the quality of the sleep.
Right.
So,
So it affects
yeah,
so many things, right?
it
Of course,
does.
moodiness and I remember as a new mom, it definitely was. I always said I make my babies cute, but I don't make them good sleepers. And so I had very bad. Part of my story is I had very bad postpartum depression after both of
Right.
my children, and I know that the more sleep deprived I became, the more it fed the postpartum depression, and
Yes.
and 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 just so
Vicious
many.
cycle.
So yes, a total vicious cycle. And that's where I said
Yes.
I feel like some of the things were so out of control. It was like I know I need more sleep, but you know, and I've never been. Have we talked about? I've never
Yes.
been the type of person who can really nap during the day. So where people were
Right.
telling me sleep when the baby sleeps, I was like,
Yes.
but then when do the dishes get done? For one, and for two, my oldest, for example, was one of those 10-minute nappers. So it
Right.
kind of felt pointless that like as soon as I got comfortable, she'd wake up. And then it was like
Right.
annoying. I was like, ah. But if I nap, even now, my kids are older now, they're 7 and 10, but
Yes.
um I wake up feeling more groggy. I don't wake up feeling, so am I just not getting good sleep in the nap, or like what happened? Like, are some people
Yeah.
just not meant to be nappers, or?
Yes, that yes and yes, because napping is wonderful if you get short sleep the night before. For those people who can, right?
Right.
Because sometimes you just don't have the time, or the place. It's not appropriate. It doesn't fit. Um, but for people who suffer from real insomnia, which is
Mhm.
either problem getting to sleep or problem staying asleep, and it's chronic, 6 months or more,
Right.
napping is not recommended always,
Oh,
because the idea of getting good quality sleep is to be consistent bedtime and consistent wake up time. And, that's a process getting there. But, there's also this component that's what people believe is genetic. Now, that's another topic as far as if you believe in genetics,
Mm-hmm.
because some people now believe we're not destined by our genes, that we can change things by our thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's another story. But some people are more or less wired to be morning people or evening people. So um, everyone peaks at their time. If you're a morning person, you're peaking at 10 a.m., you're on fire. If you're not a morning person, you're not peaking till 2 o'clock. So
Okay.
naps wouldn't work for those people. The timing of the nap is important. It at In the Chinese traditional Chinese medicine perspective, there is a time of day that's best for nap, um,
Oh.
and it coincides with some of the science about when our energy is lowest. So some people it's after lunch, some people it's a little bit later, but there's a dip in our energy. That's a good time to do really mindless things, or
Mm-hmm.
even better, take a nap. And the
Right.
nap only wants to be 20 minutes. Um, it can be up to 90 minutes. The point is we go through stages and cycles. So to go through a full cycle takes about 90 minutes. A full cycle of stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's one cycle. And we go through 4 or 5 of those a night. So if we wake up in the middle of the night, in the middle of a cycle, depending on where, sometimes you remember your dreams, other times you're feeling groggy. So a nap, if timed properly, 20
Mm-hmm.
minutes is enough to get into just enough restful stage and you'll feel refreshed. If you wake up in between a phase, you feel this grogginess, this sleep inertia. Um, so it's about timing and what time of day,
Mm-hmm.
if you feel like napping.
Okay. Yeah,
But
and I like in health coaching and learning about health coaching too. Like
yes,
I remember one of the things that I always tell people too is between 1 and 3 is when the
yes,
liver is doing its detoxification process.
yes,
So, and that's every 12 hours. So we find that afternoon slump
yes,
after lunch, which is between 1 and 3 p.m., which is when the liver is working. And then a
yes.
lot of times I find I wake up in the middle between 1 and 3 a.m. And
Ah,
that's
yes,
when the
yes,
liver again is going to work, right?
yes,
So,
that's right.
um, sometimes and that's where people go, well, I'm hungry. No, you're not hungry. Your liver's detoxing. Drink some water. You're thirsty, you're dehydrated. Go back
Yes,
to bed in the middle of the
yes,
night. But in
yes,
the afternoon, right, either take a nap, or for those of us that can't because we have school pickup at 2:30,
yes, that's right.
drink water, right? That's when we'll
Yeah,
reach for coffee, but if we drink some water, we'll have more, I find we have more energy and we're able
great.
to, we don't get that, then the slump again, right?
Yes, great idea. Water is one of those things. Immediate burst of energy by hydrating.
Mm-hmm.
We don't
Yeah.
drink enough water. We don't sleep enough. We don't drink enough. We have a lot of work to do.
We got a lot of work to do. So, but I like when you said consistency, because
Yeah.
consistency is so important, I think, in everything, right? If you don't
Yeah.
show up to your job consistently, you're
Yeah.
probably
That's
going to get
that's
fired,
true.
right?
That's
So,
true.
if you're on a weight loss journey, consistency is key. Working out,
Yes.
eating healthy, can't do it one day a week and expect results, right? And
Yes.
so, as a parent, disciplining children has to be
Yes.
consistent or it doesn't
Yes.
work. Just consistency
So
is key
true.
for everything.
Yes.
And so I like this. So, how can we be more consistent with our sleep?
Yes. Good question. I think it boils down to choice. People really want to work on it. This is what you can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can work toward consistent bedtime and wake up time. If you have to schedule it, then schedule it, right? Time block it, whatever method works for you. If you're committed to doing it, is
Mm-hmm.
actually plan it. So if you say um, that you feel best when you get 7 hours or 8 hours, plan that. and then
Mm-hmm.
stick to it, and give yourself what I call a soft landing. So instead of crashing and going to bed, practice, visualize a soft landing. Turn the lights down. Lower, the temperature of the bedroom if that's not already cooler. Um, Prepare for this beautiful ritual of sleep. Look at it differently and
Mm-hmm.
prepare yourself for it. So give yourself an hour to 2 hours, and then when you wake up also with intention, right? So um, we as coaches, we believe in that we hold the key to everything. We have all the wisdom inside. We just have to unlock it. And one of those things is, what thoughts you wake up with first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Make that intentional. And so if we practice that enough and are consistent, that could lead to just embracing sleep for what it is, which is restorative healing. It prepares you and sets you up for the day, for success for the day, because we all know if we don't sleep enough, it's just going to be off. We'll get cranky, but we can't always do that unless you really make a conscious effort to make a plan, to stick to it, make it a ritual, and be consistent.
Yeah. And I love that too, waking up with intention for the day. And that's huge, right? Huge. And especially if we're
Yes.
someone who's been in a funk, if we're just not feeling great and we wake up and we're like, oh, so waking up and setting an intention to just, today I choose to be happy. I
Yes.
choose this, right? Is it going to be perfect all day long? Probably not, but at least starting the day in that way with some kind of intention is helpful, and giving yourself some grace in it too, right? So it
Yes.
takes, you said 2 hours to start to, does
It,
it,
it
does it take that long?
no, yeah,
Oh my
hurry.
God, Meg.
I'm going to
I'm,
I'm going to bed now by 8. No, no. It's no, it varies, of course. Sleep is very personal, like everything with our health. It's very personal. It's very, individual. We talk
right.
about bio individuality.
Uh-huh.
Everybody's different. So for some people, it's like the person who takes their time getting up in the morning compared to the person who jumps out of bed like a rocket and is dressed in 2 minutes, right? That's
Yeah.
the the difference. And so when it comes to winding down, some people only need an hour, but I would recommend it be a gradual thing, because, for example, light in general is a big issue. We are
Yeah.
so out of sync with natural light, and that's been destroying our sleep since electricity was invented.
Right. Well, especially too, I think if you live somewhere, right, that
Yeah, it's
the
dark.
sun changes, like it's
Yes,
dark or it's light. Um,
yes.
did you know I also lived in England for a little while?
Oh no, I
I was
didn't know that.
there. I
Yes,
lived in
yes.
outside of London in Kingston upon
Okay.
Thames. It was
Oh, nice
beautiful. I
place.
loved it.
Yes, the river.
And I visited Denmark when I was there. It was over
Oh,
summer.
yes.
And
The
you
sun's
know,
out.
it was like 11 p.m. and I was 20. So it was 11 p.m. We went to a bar. We
Yes,
left it for the sun was out.
yes.
We
All
left at
night.
4 a.m. and the
Yep,
sun was out. I was like,
yep.
did it go down at all? And they were like, well, and in the winter, like reverse it, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I
Dark.
thought, oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So, but yeah, it was like I was not tired in Denmark at all because it was just sunny.
Yes.
Like
Yes. They
11:30 at
have more.
night, the sun was still out. Like it was noon. I thought, oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yes, we've been through that. My wife is from Spain, so
Oh.
even though there's not the change with, day and light that way,
Mm-hmm.
they're a culture that's used to going out at 11 p.m.
Right.
and
Well,
staying
I
up
think
all night.
most college, age, I don't know if that's necessarily just local to Spain. I think that's
Yeah, yes, no.
anyone in
It,
their early 20s is like,
yes,
it's 11
yes,
p.m. It's time to start the night.
yeah.
Um,
Yes,
yeah.
that's so true. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the environment has an impact. So, in some maybe not quite extreme cases, people need those SAD lamps, right? To help people with seasonal affective disorder. There's a UV
Yeah.
lamp. And the
Right.
idea is to expose your eyes to natural light for a few minutes each day. If you don't have daylight, you
Yeah.
know, like in northern countries. And surprisingly, um, it's the northern Scandinavian countries that are rated the happiest in the nation, in the world. Sorry,
Yeah.
and which is unusual because, like you said, that's where they experience long summers of daylight and long winters of dark. You would have thought
Mm-hmm.
they'd be depressed, but it measures other things. But
Right.
yeah, if you cannot control the daylight that way, um, you can control the kind of light that you're exposed to. Like
Mm-hmm.
fluorescents are terrible. Workplaces, fluorescent lighting, terrible. Get
Yeah.
outside as much as possible. That actually helps reset your circadian rhythm.
Right.
Getting outside, getting natural daylight. So, as health coaches, we can combine it all with walk or workout outdoors in the sun,
Mm-hmm.
barefoot on the beach, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And so I feel like this is something that happens with me as well. As like as nighttime comes around 8 p.m.,
yes,
we have like a ceiling fan with, one of the just regular lights, whatever. It's not
yes,
fluorescent, obviously, but it's whatever it is.
yes.
But we have a dimmer, so I have to
Okay,
dim it.
yes,
Because by 8 p.m., I'm like, now I'm overstimulated. Now
yes,
I've got to turn the lights down. I can't have the lights up.
yes,
And if we have like guests who are staying over or something and it's like 8:30 and the lights are still all bright, I'm like, I'm starting to get cranky and I'm starting to twitch because I'm like, this is where I need quiet. Even if I'm just watching TV or I'm just chilling, this is when I need quiet and I need the lights down and I need to
yes,
just, you know,
yeah. Chill.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I guess, is that me preparing to sleep? I just thought it was me being overstimulated from the day, or does that come into play too?
I think it's both. Um, our bodies, because I mentioned they're wired to the daylight, to the sun,
Mm-hmm.
um, naturally will start secreting melatonin when the sun goes down.
Yeah.
Now, we overstimulate ourselves, like you said, with devices and artificial
Yeah.
light and so forth. So our brain is tricked into thinking it's still day. But if we practice dimming lights, or there's even smart light bulbs these days that
Mm-hmm.
will change the color temperature to closer to
Ah,
sunset. And you could use these to replace the incandescent bulbs or halogen bulbs or energy saving bulbs you might have already. So this is the next step in lighting. And there's nothing worse like going to a beautiful hotel, right? And you know this. And if you have to get up in the middle of the night, you turn one light on and
and it's like,
it
yeah.
just lights up, and all you want is a little dim light, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
that's what our bodies want too. They just our
Yeah.
bodies can't make us do that, but
Yeah.
they would benefit from lowering the lights and the sound. Just and for you, it's both a chance to chill out and your body telling you, I'm preparing for winding down, soft
Yeah.
landing, and good sleep, good rest.
Yeah. We've put a night light in the bathroom
Yes, so do
so we
we.
don't have to
Yeah,
turn the light on at night.
yeah, yeah.
Partly because it's like super bright and it kind of
Yes,
wakes you up. And then also
yes.
because there's a fan connected to the
Ah,
light, which is
yes,
kind of loud. And
yes,
we were afraid of waking up the children,
yes.
which would
Yeah,
then wake us up. And,
yeah,
so we put a nightlight in there and that's really cool because it's still kind of dark. I
yes.
also read a study. I just thought this was a really interesting, I don't know if this
Mhm.
is true or not. It was one study and I don't know what the how many people or whatever they studied was,
Yes,
that when you wake up in the middle of the night and you are like kind of in that groggy, still half asleep,
yes.
that it's equivalent to having 4 drinks and being like drunk.
Ah, yes, yes. Okay.
And I
Um,
was like, Well, yeah, I'm like, that's when
Yeah,
I'm
you're.
walking into walls and like my equilibrium is kind of off. And it's like, oh man, that is like college when you know,
Yeah, just like college.
that
Yeah.
used to be fun, but now it's
Yes.
not so funny anymore.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. I think there's a little bit of confusion because um, it's I believe that waking up in the middle of the night is a function of being in the middle of a sleep stage, and what we're experiencing is this grogginess, this uncertainty is a state, um, and there's a scientific word for it, and I can't remember what it is, but it's more a state of sleep, of consciousness.
Uh-huh.
Now, if we don't sleep enough and it's chronic, that does equate to being intoxicated. So if you go to work with only 3 hours, 4 hours sleep, you are in a state like you had a few drinks.
Wow.
Because, what is it? And I guess it varies from state to state. Point 0.8 alcohol,
Uh-huh.
uh, some
Something like that.
percentage,
Yeah. I
right?
think here in California, it's like 0.7, maybe something like that. Yeah.
Yes, and they've measured brain waves um, of the sleep deprived, and it um, is as bad as having 4 drinks or whatever level of intoxication. That's how
Okay.
bad it is, and people go to work this way.
Right. You're driving your car. I mean, you can't get a DUI for sleep deprivation, I guess, but maybe
No, but
it's the same danger.
it's the same danger. In fact, it's scary, Sharla, because I heard a very prominent sleep neuroscientist speak last year in San Francisco. What he told me, what he shared with the crowd, I was shocked about, because he said, and I'm still trying to find the numbers where he got this, but basically he said, sleep deprivation kills more people on the road than alcohol and drugs combined. We don't hear about it, do we?
No, we don't. And unfortunately, I know two people that that, you know,
Oh,
that
wow.
have gotten in accidents and at a very young age
Right.
died because of, like, one of them had just
Yes.
switched to working a night shift, and he was coming
Oh,
off his first night shift.
oh
It was like
my.
7:30 in the morning, and he was driving home from work, and he
Right.
unfortunately crashed his car. That was very sad. That was right out of high school. But
Oh, yes, yes.
yeah, it was really sad.
Yeah.
So it absolutely is a danger for
Yeah,
sure.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. And this is why, I'm really passionate about this topic. It's one of these things that, maybe there's just not enough attention. We're hearing now more about mental illness, for example.
Mm-hmm.
We hear
Yes.
more about, um, gay rights. We hear more about all these things that we didn't talk about 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're just at the surface, I believe, when it comes to talking about sleep health and everything
Mm.
it impacts. I just received a report, a global um, wellness report that comes out every year, and sleep is a $400 billion industry.
Like with the medications,
Um,
like,
yeah, that's a good question. The sleep medication is huge and
yeah.
growing, but so is the sleep technology, the mattress companies now, right? You're starting to see
Oh, yeah.
these, so everything related to the sleep industry is growing. It's part
Mm-hmm.
of a larger global wellness industry. Sleep is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm looking for it, but sleep is a big component of that, as well as, other health-related industries, travel industry, and so forth. So, sleep is, $432 billion market and growing. 150 billion to grow in the next 4 years.
So this is definitely an issue, and it's something that people are
They're
wanting
trying.
to focus on and are trying
Yep.
to focus on. So
Yep.
we're coming up here to where, I promised these would be short. So,
Yes.
so I mean, I feel like we could keep talking, and this is so
Yes.
interesting. I'm learning so much. I'm taking notes. I'm so glad we're recording.
Yes.
Um, and so what are your tips to help people to fall asleep? Like I know we were talking earlier, I mentioned I've been doing like sleep hypnosis,
Yes.
um, or meditation music, or like what are your tips to help
Yes.
people get better quality sleep, to be more consistent with their sleep like we've talked about, and just to help to change this trajectory of where we're
Yes.
going, where
Yes.
we've been.
Yes. Well, I mean, I suppose the first thing I would say is to have an awareness of it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so, we're doing all that we can to, make people more aware of it. Health coaches, for me in particular, I want to let more health coaches know more about sleep because it's needed. And once we're aware, it's a little bit like, once you know something, you can't turn back, and you either do something or you go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
But once we're aware of it and then we take it on, if we understand that we could benefit from it in so many ways on every level, we could help people, with losing weight with it. We would just learn how to, find ways to use it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we could, once we've raised our awareness, we could be intentional about it, and we could work on the quality. So as far as quality, consistency, like you mentioned, is an important thing. That's a very good first starting point, or tip, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
Be consistent, be intentional about sleep, and make it a ritual, whatever
Yeah.
method you use. Meditation, music, all of that's great stuff. The idea again is to practice it and make it consistent.
So basically, all this stuff that we do with our children in terms of like having a
Yes.
consistent, this is bedtime, and before bedtime, maybe we read a story and we take a bath, and we
Yes.
have the bedtime routine
Yes, you do.
that we need to continue. That we get out of the bedtime routine as adults, right? So
Yes.
if we
Yes.
maybe come back to that having a bedtime routine for your children and having a bedtime routine
That's
for you.
wonderful. Wonderful. I love that because that speaks to mothers and parents immediately. They already know these things. They do it for their children.
Right.
Why
We
can't
do
we do?
so many things for our children we don't do
Yes.
for ourselves.
Yes. Well, that again comes down to, self-care, right?
Yes.
We help others with self-care, and we are probably the first ones guilty of not sticking to our own.
Right.
So, yeah, I think um, you know, uh, because you could find all kinds of tips online. Whatever works, I say, whatever works for you, that you know, for yourself, for your lifestyle. Just sorry about that.
That's okay.
Just
Hi, puppy.
just aim for the amount of hours. I'm not firm on 7 or 8 or 9.
Okay.
Everybody needs something different. The real test is how you feel the next day. Are you feeling charged? You feeling positive, happy?
Mm-hmm.
Then that's a good guide. You can go with that.
Okay. Awesome. And so people can find more information on you and your coaching on your website, goodlifesleep.com, right?
Yes,
And that's
yes,
spelled GOODLIFESLEEP.com,
yes.
right? Just
Yep,
like it sounds.
yep.
Awesome. And you have courses and group programs, and how do
Yes,
you work with people, Mag? So if they want to get a hold of you, how can they get
yes,
better sleep?
yes. Exactly. Well, you can reach out to me anytime. My email, through my email list, or join the newsletter. You can get. I
Okay.
think my email is down below there anyway. You could write me anytime. I'm on all the social media platforms as much as I can.
Yeah.
So you can always message me or reach out to me there. Um,
Okay, now you realize
we
that
are
there are
launching.
probably teenagers listening.
Oop,
So when you say all the social media platforms, Mag, what are we talking? We're Facebook? Are you
oh,
Instagram?
right, right. Yeah. So
When you say all, there's
yes,
more.
yeah,
There's more.
I'm on.
Are you on
Yeah,
Snapchat,
you're
Mag?
right.
Are you?
No, no,
No,
you're
okay.
right.
So
That's very good. Thank you for qualifying that because, yeah, I'm not. I'm
I have
on.
kids. I know all this the social
Yes,
media.
yes, you do. You know them more than many.
Are you on TikTok? Are you doing sleep videos on TikTok, Meg?
TikTok. See, that's something I should be taking notes on, right?
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
totally do sleep videos on TikTok. That would be awesome. Just be
All
like,
right.
just sleeping. That would be great.
I'll have to look into this seriously because, social media is a tool we use, and of certain generations know only certain ones. I'm on the
So you're
on
on
the
Facebook?
Yes, I'm the parent one. Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And all as Mag Secretario or as Good Life Sleep?
Good Life Sleep. You'll
Good Life
find me on
Sleep.
all of those.
Okay,
Yes, yes,
great.
and of course, on my personal page, Mag Secretario. But
Awesome.
yeah, on our website we have our ongoing good news blog, and we are creating. We have a few products on there, a few guides and tips, and we are launching a course very soon. So there will be a
Great.
course designed for other coaches.
Awesome. And if they want info, they go to your website for that. And so we
Right.
always like to leave everyone listening with one action step to go home and take home and practice. So what's one thing that you would say would be an action step for everyone listening centered around sleep that they can put into
Oh,
practice tonight?
yes. Okay. I'll tell you. This is one I enjoy. It's called instead of counting sheep,
Uh-huh.
count your blessings.
Oh, I love that.
Be grateful. Just going to bed grateful, it puts us in a different mood.
Oh, I love that. So going to bed and yeah, right. If you're in a bad mood, it's harder to sleep. Your brain is turning and I love
Yeah.
that. So listing all the things you're grateful for and not a journaling thing where maybe the lights are on and you're actively writing because that'll keep you awake, but just going through it in your mind.
It'll
I love
work
it.
in your mind also. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so
Thank
much, Mag.
you.
It's been so great talking to you. I took notes. I'm gonna go through my gratitude before I do my hypnosis at night tonight. And
Wonderful.
yes, I hope that everyone listening has taken a lot away from this and how important sleep is to us and our health. And
Very
with
good.
that, this is the Get Out of Your Funk show. You can find me on Facebook, Sharla Mandere Coaching, Instagram, charlamandere.coaching. And let's keep this conversation going, shall we? We
Wonderful.
will see you guys soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.